everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for week 44 of the new Build Your Stash and Craft. This week we are going to make ATC cards. And what is an ATC? I looked it up. I know what it is, but I looked it up on Wikipedia and actually was surprised to find out that ATC cards were initially started by the Swiss artist, and I probably can't say this right, but Vancy Sterneman in 1997. I thought artist trading cards were around a whole lot longer than that. And an artist trading card is truly 2.5 by 3.5 inches in size. That is the size of an ATC. Now you'll have people that make them 3 by 4 or whatever. The 2.5 by 3.5 is the size of your regular trading cards, like baseball cards, the bubblegum cards anything you would get like in your bubblegum packets. And so they would fit into the sleeves of trading cards if you wanted to collect them. Now, artist trading cards are always meant to be traded or given away. They're not meant to be sold. But in 2004, a lady by the name of Lisa Laurie, she decided to put them on eBay and sell them, and came up with the name of Art Cards Editions and Originals, or what is called, where is it? ACEOs. So if you see something that says ACEO, because that is one that I didn't know exactly what it stood for, it stands for Art Card Editions and Originals. And so that's what that is, and that is an artist trading card that's sold. So but originally they were set out just to be traded between artists. They would get together, and there are still places that get together, and there are a lot of places on YouTube where they'll put it up where they will they'll trade them with each other. And so that's what an artist trading card is. And the thing is that most of your actual playing cards, just regular playing cards, are 2.5 by 3.5 inches. So if you don't have any card stock or a heavy piece of paper, which it's nice to put them on because they are supposed to be a card, a little bit heavier in order to trade. Just if you have some old playing cards at home that you've lost a card or two, or that they're just getting old, you can use those to make your artist trading cards. Sometimes they get real sticky and, they don't shuffle well. Then turn them into artist trading cards, and because you're going to cover them up anyways. I normally cover them with a little bit of gesso. We don't have gesso in our series. You can use the sandpaper that we have and give them just a touch of a sand and put a little bit of white paint on them, just to kind of knock back the color and any shine that's left. But and what you do is you just basically make a small piece of art. Now, these are just collaged arts. So we have some, this is a piece of a paper bag, a piece of a doily, some book page, a little piece of leftover scrap paper. And then I like to just put words on them. So I put these words on my computer and cut them out with a punch, which we don't have punches, and, not everyone has a computer, let's say, so you don't have to get your words that way. And then as a focal point, I just put a sticker. So, so this one is float, and on the back it says, "Seek and ye shall find." And now artist trading cards, you are supposed to put your name and the date on the back of your artist trading card. And if you've named your card, you also put that on the back of your card. So, and here is one that I did with a little feather sticker on it. And again, the same backgrounds, just maybe in a different placement. This one is peace, and it says, "You are enough just as you are." And so, this is just the way that I have put together these artist trading cards. Now this one has a bit of napkin. It has a piece of lace, curtain lace, some more napkin here, and some scrapbooking paper. This is Hope, and it says, "We love him because he loved us first." And on this one, I did a little stenciling on the back. So you just do them, and then you can make little envelopes for them. This is just a piece of deli paper that I went ahead and I just cut it to twice as wide as my card. So twice as wide, and, well, twice as wide plus a little bit, and then plus about a 1/2 inch, so that when you fold it in half, you can fold over that 1/2 inch and glue it down. And then what I did was I just made it about a 1/2 inch taller or plus, and because we folded it up here on the bottom, a 1/2 inch longer. So and that's just, maybe someday we'll make these little covers, but I'm not doing that today. But any kind of a little envelope that will fit them is perfectly good. And you don't have to do that either. And then I decorated those. And I did that because then when I took my card, what I did was, because I've got my saying on the back, I would go ahead and I would put the card in, because I decorated the front, I would put it in like that so you couldn't really see what it says. And you could see this through the back side, but you couldn't see what the little saying on it is from the front side. And, you know, these are just like little affirmation cards for, and actually I do sell these at an art studio, but so that is why I did that, so that it would be a surprise when it was opened up. But so let's make them. And I also said that I would do a really quickly. I said that this week I would do a cancellation for our stamp. So we'll do that quickly. This is a piece of fun foam and then some cardboard. This is just a cake box. So you're just going to want some cardboard and some fun foam. And all I did was I went ahead and I just took my glue and I put it on there and I just pressed down on it just so that I would have a circle. That was an easy way. You could also just draw around it. But then you can just go ahead and cut out that circle for your cancellation, for your postage mark. And they don't have to be perfect, because if you ever have seen a postage mark on a real envelope, half the time it doesn't all come out anyway. So, you know, perfection is not necessary ever, really. So, and then the one thing about the cardboard, you do not want to use corrugated cardboard, because corrugated cardboard has parts where it will press down really firmly, where the corrugation comes up, but where it will not press down real firmly as the corrugation is going down. And especially the smaller you cut your corrugated cardboard, the more that those get a little mushy. So you just want a flat piece of cardboard. If you don't feel it's thick enough, glue a couple pieces together to make it a little thicker, but don't use the corrugated, because sometimes that will be, you know, a little distressing when you go to press down and it only presses down in spots. Now, normally I would glue this with tacky glue, but because I just had this in my hand, I'm going to just put that right on there. Okay, now to make your postage cancellation stamp, what you want to do is, normally they look like a circle with writing in the middle. And so let's see, I had a pen here. This pen, because it has washi tape on it, I know that it's out of ink. That's what I use, so that if I get a whole bunch of heavy ink on here, it doesn't come off when I go to use it as a stamp. Excuse me. So what we're going to do is we're just going to, and this is actually still putting a little bit of ink out, but not a lot. And that will happen when your pen will run out. It won't work for you any other time, except when you don't really want ink to come out. And so what I do is I just go around inside the circle about the same amount all the way around, so that this out here, this is going to stamp for me, but I'm going to color this. I'm going to push this back is what I'm doing. And as I push this back, I'm going to leave. First, I'm going to kind of push it back all the way around the circle, so that I actually have just that circle that will stamp, and whatever you push back will not show up. So I'll just go around like this and push it back around where I drew that circle on the inside, just a little bit. And again, I'm definitely not trying to make this perfect right now, because we have other things that we need to get done. So I do things a little fast here, where you can take a little bit more time and do it just how you want it to turn out. But just push some of that back so it doesn't show up. And so right now, the way that this is, this would show up if I stamped it, and this would show up, but this here would not. So there'd be a a gap there, which is what's going to make this outside circle. But they usually have words in them. So then what I do is I just kind of like draw a little rectangle here. And maybe a little rectangle here. And then maybe a circle. I don't know why, just because, so it looks like it's got some writing on it. And then what I do is, so I have this little rectangle I want to show up. I want this rectangle to show up. I want this circle to show up. So what I do is I don't push back there. I leave those puffed up, and then I push back everything around them so that when I go to stamp this, those areas will show up as those little shapes. I've done it before where I've kind of did the outline of a head, because a lot of stamps have, you know, pictures on them. And so it kind of looks like it's a little, a bust of a person. And so, but we're just going to push all of this back now, leaving only just parts. And I'm going to do this a little bit messy. So some of the parts that I'm pushing back, because I'm not doing it slowly, some of those parts that I'm trying to push back may not push back enough, and they may show up. And that's okay too, because like I said, they usually look messy when you get them anyways. So maybe if I just make some distinction between those areas so that it looks like there was something there. Granted, it's not writing like an actual postage stamp, but it still just kind of gives you a little interest on your cancellation stamp. So there we go. So now I've got that pushed back. So now that's the round part of my cancellation stamp. And then you're just going to cut some wavy lines. Maybe 4. And so we've got our wavy lines, and we'll just put some glue on here. And again, I would do this normally with like tacky glue. And then also before I used them, I would let them dry. Because if you don't let them dry, then they tend to want to come off when you use them. And the biggest thing that I do is try and make sure that they kind of line up at one end. Just make a little mark right there. I'm going to cut that one off because for some reason that one wound up being longer because I was just using scrap fun foam. So there we go. That's going to be my cancellation lines. And then I'm going to stick my fun foam back in my little baggie. I always keep my scraps of fun foam because look at how small those are. You can use all of those sizes of fun foam. You can just make them into a very background stamp where they're just all mixed and matched. And there we go. Now, I always try and cut my cardboard fairly close to the edges of whatever stamp I just made so that if I'm using paint or ink off an ink pad, they kind of don't show up. And then just kind of take the corners off a little bit too so that they don't accidentally get ink on them and get on your paper. And then when you're putting them on an ink pad or on a paint pad, because this is our paint pad, we made our own paint pads, that cardboard doesn't pick up the ink or the paint and get on your project. Excuse me. Now, We have masking tape in our series. We don't have Scotch tape, I don't believe. I don't know if we do or not. But I'm going to show you what you do is you take a piece of tape and then you hold on to each edge and then kind of fold it up in the middle and make the middle touch, but keeping a little wing on each side. Then you use those wings to tape it to the back of your stamp. And what that does is that makes a handle. So again, you just take a piece of tape, hang on to each end, push the middle up, and make it push together, keeping those two wings out there. And then you just take those two wings and put them on the back of your homemade stamp. And now you have a handle to press it down and lift it up with. So we will quickly here's our tiny bits. Let's just grab out one of our stamps here that we made. And we'll put it on a piece of paper. What did I do with my glue stick? I'm always losing everything. Oh, I just knocked it on the floor. It was on the only side of the box I didn't look at. So let's just say that this is what we're going to be using as an envelope. And then, because I didn't get a paint pad ready, we'll just use, let's do it in blue, even though usually they're black, but let's do it in blue instead. So all you're going to do, if you had an ink pad or a paint pad, you would just take it and dab it on there and then use it. But we're going to just use a watercolor marker, just a kid's marker. And I use kind of like the sides, so I'm only getting the high points of my stamp. And once you do that, especially if it takes you a long time, just breathe on it just a little bit. And then stamp it. Let it sit there for just a second. Whenever you do any stamping or anything, let it sit for just a second so the ink has time to attach itself to the paper. And so there is that part. And then we'll do our lines. And put them out there like that. So there we go. We have our own cancellation stamp. Maybe that's backwards. Maybe the circle's supposed to be over here and the lines are supposed to be over here. Excuse me. But there you go. You've got your very own cancellation stamps. So that kind of goes with last week's video of making our own stamps. And now we're going to work on some ATCs. And again, we are going to cut a piece of cardstock, or you can always use a plain card. And I'm going to get this out of here. I'm not sure why I left that out there. And so the way that you cut a piece of cardstock is, here we go. I drew it out. So one piece, now this is United States letter size paper. I know overseas your paper sizes are different, but in the United States it's 8.5 by 11. So the way that you cut it is, you cut it 2.5 inches here, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, and you will be left with 1 inch. And cut those first so that you have this whole strip left. Then cut it 3.5 this way, the 8.5 by 11. So that is 3.5, 3.5, and 3.5, and you are left at the bottom with this 1/2 inch at the bottom. So you're going to cut it like this, and then you will cut all of your little 1-inch tabs, and then you will cut each of these like that, because they will already have been cut off your paper, and you'll wind up with these 3 little pieces of what you may call waste, but they're not waste. You can use them for lots of different things. But so that is how I cut it. 3.5 this way and 2.5 this way, which leaves you with 1 inch for inchies. And then, so then by that, you wind up with 9 ATCs. You wind up with 11 inchies. and you wind up with 3 little pieces like this. So what would you do with those? Well, you can use them to make words to go on your ATC cards, like this. And that is just a word out of a magazine. And what I did was I just cut a tail on it. And so I'm just going to show you how to cut. This is how I cut tails. I cut a slice right down the middle and then go from the corner to the tip of that slice. And then from this corner to the tip of that slice. I didn't go quite far enough. My scissors don't quite cut to the tip. And so there we go. That's how I cut a little flag. But now there's a little flag that you can use on your ATCs. So then again, to make an ATC, you just start out with a 2.5 by 3.5 inch and you just play with it. So I believe we were going through things when we were doing our postage stamps last week, and we came up with this page. I didn't want to cut it up for I didn't want to cut it for the inchies, but what I am going to use it for my ATC. So I'm going to cut around, or I'm going to draw around my ATC card. And if you want, you can make a heavier piece of cardboard that's this size if you want to draw around things. So, and then what I'm going to do is I'll just cut that out. I'm going to cut it out. Well, I'll cut it out right on the line. And then because I really don't want, you know, like just total straight lines, then I will rip the edges a little bit. It's really hard to see those lines. And I'll put the rest aside to use for something else because it's really cute. So now we've got this cute little picture that we can just put right on there, just like that. I want a little bit of a border of my ATC. Now, whatever part of the paper that you pull towards you will not have the white edge. So I'm going to pull the ATC towards me so that the white edge is on the throwaway part. That's totally up to how you like it. A lot of people like the white edge on whatever they're ripping out. So you can do that either way. Just remember, whatever part pushes back winds up with a little white edge of paper, and whatever you're pulling forward towards you winds up with just the coloring of whatever you're ripping. So we'll just rip this, and then we'll decide what we want to do. Now, it's a really cute picture. Do we really want to cover it up much? Maybe we don't really want to cover it up too much. Maybe just a cute little word on there might be all we need. And that's as simple as it is. Whatever you feel like you want to do, and when you feel it's done, that's when it's done. And you don't have to have, even when you're collaging, and you don't have to collage on an ATC card, you can just literally put a picture. You can paint a picture. You can draw a picture. And you can use any kind of medium. So that's really cute. And I'm just going to grab a magazine page here to put some glue on this. I found it. And again, whatever kind of glue you want to use, I like stick glue for magazine pages because it doesn't make them wrinkle all up. Wet glue really makes magazine pages wrinkle, and I don't care for that. And if your stick glue is decent, it will hold on something that's just flat and is going to stay flat. It doesn't work real well on things that are moving all the time. It lets go at some point sometimes. So there we go. Now, these pieces could be kept and used as collage on some other piece of paper. And then you can say, okay, well, I want the edge to kind of have some color to it. So maybe like orange would be cute. So where did I put the markers? right here. So maybe we'll put a little bit of orange on the edge, or maybe a little yellow lightly, then with a, ooh, do I have a sponge here? I do not have a sponge. So let's see. No, I don't have one at all. Okay, so I won't do that. I was going to go ahead and put a little bit of, yeah, I don't. I forgot that I brought this out too. All right, so we're going to do to the edges just with, I'm going to not use where I put glue. Just going to set this on here. I'm going to take my marker and draw right next to the edge. I'm not drawing on the paper, I'm just drawing next to the edge of it, and that gives it a nice little orange border, which is really kind of nice so that it's not just all stark white. But let's try to put a little bit of yellow on with, okay, I make background stamps sometime by just taking a piece of paper and wadding it up. And I don't know if this will work because I've never tried it before, but I just wad it up the way that I normally do it, wad it up, and then put it on an ink pad or a paint pad to pick up the ink and the paint and stamp it on my background. But I'm going to see if I can color on this. Breathe on it. That's not working. Okay, I didn't know if it would. So let's try spraying a little bit of water on it. Just mist a little water and see if the color comes off now. Okay, that's kind of working, but normally, you know, it's all kind of mushy like this, and it makes a lot of different shapes when you just dunk it in your ink pad. This is just more of a kind of a yellow blotch is what's going on there. It's not making that shape. Of course, you really can't see it because there's so little. I just don't want it to be like a real solid mark on my paper. I don't want to like color it all yellow. So by doing this, it's just giving me just a little bit of yellow here and there. And it's kind of very much in the background. So it's not distracting from whatever you're putting on as your focal point. So that did work a little bit. So I don't have so much stark white on there. So I don't know if you can see that or not. But see, it gives it just a little interest, but you see the white, you see the yellow. And then a lot of times what's really fun to do is to take something that you've already cut out, like when we cut out these flowers a long time ago, to cut them out and to put them on there to, like that would frame the little kitty's face. So, but because I really like this whole picture, I really don't want to do that. But that is something you can do, especially if you've got something where really you want a little focal point, and that really draws your attention right to that spot. So, but that one I would use at another time. And this one might work a little better, but I still don't really like it. But it's the wrong color also. So I can always put just maybe a little bit of book page at the bottom if I want to, and see if we can find a word to put across here and to put on here like this. So we want a word that's about this big. And I'm just just going to nick those corners off. That. This one needs a little bit more. Okay. So we're going to put that on there like that and like that. And then we'll just see if we can find a word on, I pulled out some magazine pages. Okay, so this one says love that, and I liked the word love on there. This one says hoop dreams, but I like the word dreams. So I think that that is what I want to put there if it fits. So we'll see, will that fit on there? And it does fit on there. But what I maybe just, I think that I prefer to have it just on the book page backing. You know, this side's a little lighter, so the darker side does look better. And I'm going to rip off that little bit that was sticking up because I didn't like it. Okay, so I'm just going to put that on there with my stick glue. And actually, this piece of paper right here out of the magazine has some really, really pretty colors to it. And the biggest thing is, when you're doing small things, like collage or whatever, those bits are plenty big enough to give you a piece to use. So there is that, and maybe let's just straighten this up a bit. Take the corners off, just because it kind of makes it, I know sometimes to me square corners are just a little like in your face. I'm going to use the back of this one because I do like the colors on that paper. I'm going to put it a little closer to the left side on an angle, just like that. And then we have these little gems that we received, that we purchased already. And so I think maybe one of those in, I love these because they're on a clear backing, so you can kind of hold them up to your project and see what you think. So, you know, like the red, I don't know. The orange I kind of like, or the yellow, or do we want to go something darker? No, I don't like the darker one, so I think I'm going to go with the yellow. Take one of those. Whoops. Well, those stick really well, and that's where it wants to be because it's not going to let me take it off. So there we go. And you can also put, if you think your gem is going to come off, you can always take a little dab of glue and stick it on the back and glue it down. And when I glue them down, again, I use tacky glue. So there we go. That is an artist trading card that's done. And again, you can put your name and the date on the back. And they're just really cute. And they're very fun to trade with other people. And that's really what they're meant to do. So that is what an artist trading card is. That's the size. That's the way that we cut them. We cut them like this. And gives us inchies also, which again, you can use your inchies as a focal point. You can use a stamp as your focal point. You can do whatever it is that you think you can use playing cards to make one, because that is a really fun thing to do, is to use a playing card to do it. So that's what we have. We could do, let's see what we've got here. So this is just that pretty paper that I really thought was gorgeous. And these are just some of our cutoffs. Remember, we had these cutoffs. Some handmade colored paper. I don't want that dark. But these are all just pieces that I cut off, and when I cut them off, I throw them in a box. I like the purple. I guess the blue's okay too. So that's some of those. What do we have here? This is one of the flowers that we made. There's a little bow in here that we made. So let's see what we can do here. Let's just grab a piece of our glue paper. And we'll just make a collage on this one instead of just a regular picture. Gonna kind of rip off this bottom part that's cut. And it's just a fun thing just to play with. There's no right, there's no wrong. And when you get to the point where you're happy with it, it's done. You don't have to worry about what anybody else does or what what you think, oh, do I have enough? Do I have too much? And again, sometimes right now I really haven't thought this through in any way, shape, or form. And so I will just go until I say, I think I like the way that that looks. I like this purple paper, but I really kind of wished I would have put it under here. And I know there are some people, when they collage, they only really glue down the middle bits, so that if they need to lift up the edge, it's not glued down. I don't ever do that, really mostly because I don't think about doing that. There's a bow that we made. We could put that bow right at the top. We need a little something in here, maybe color-wise. But I didn't bring any colors out with me, so we won't be doing that. But I could always do that later too. Just add a little color to that. Okay, so this one needs to be glued down with real glue. Okay, here we go. I knew I brought glue out here. And this is something, once you get it glued on, you really want to weight it down when you're done to make sure that it really attaches well and doesn't come off. Just kind of center that. And now this has stuff sticking out the edges. If you join a real artist group, sometimes they will be very picky on the fact of it cannot be bigger than 2.5 by 3.5, including what's sticking out the edge. So if you join a club, find out what their rules are as far as, are they that picky that it has to be 2.5 by 3.5 with nothing sticking out? And the reason that they do that, again, is because a lot of people that do collect them, they put them in those sleeves, like for baseball cards, and this would not fit in there. They'd have to fold that over or whatever, and they don't want that. They want the whole thing to fit within that sleeve. I personally, it doesn't bother me what size they are, and I just do them my own way, just because that's what I want to do. So just check if you're joining a group as to what their rules are. So then let's look at we do have some stamps that we bought, but this is not in the right coloring, or stickers, I mean. So this is just a sticker, but that's more of a background sticker. So, and then this is rub-ons, which those ones are not really going to show much on that dark color. So let's look in our little ephemera folder for the little bits that we've made. So we have these little bits. And do we have something for, for a focal point? How about a dragonfly or a butterfly? Or maybe an inchy. Or a little heart that says happiness. That's the one I like. So there's the heart. We have the Canada, which looks nice, but kind of really blends in with the dark edges. And then the dragonfly is cute, except that the wings kind of fade back a little bit. They don't show up that well. So I think that this is the one that I want to use. And then if I had a little piece of our lace here, because we did have some lace, let's see if there's any in. And these are just boxes that I just throw stuff in. Let me see what about that see, that would make a cute focal point too, but it covers up a lot of what we've got already that we put on there. Let me see if there's any fabric in here. So this is just whenever I have little bits, I throw them in a box. Ooh, there's a little piece of lace. Awesome. And that's what your little bits are for. So we will just cut a little piece that's bigger than our inchy. Maybe kind of give it a little bit of a fold to give it a little depth. Again, that's something that check with whoever you're working with, because some people don't want any kind of depth to it, because again, it doesn't fit well in those sleeves. I'm going to cut up in the bottom. We've got a little rib of sewing. And I want it to stick out, but I want it to kind of puff a little bit. And that's kind of why I'm folding it, to see. Just didn't want it to be super flat. Now, if I only just glue it and just leave the sides not glued down. No, I want some kind of lift. So we're just going to put a little bit of a fold in it and put it together. Come on. I do like this glue, but it's a little slow sometimes. Okay, so I don't want to glue down the edges, and I kind of want to just pull this in a little bit. In the center. And then I'm going to put glue all over this, especially in the top and bottom corner, because I want it to hold that in place. So I want to glue that right to the bottom paper. And I've got glue all over the whole thing, but I'm not squishing the inchy down completely, because I just don't want to mush the lace all the way down. but I put glue all over the whole thing because then it glues it to the lace. It's not going to go anywhere. The lace is not going to go anywhere. So there we go. And then possibly later I may come in and just use a little bit of paint on a sponge and paint the edges. Maybe use a little crinkled piece of paper to just dab a few little interesting spots where it may be just a little too white. Because to me, the white always bothers me. But that's me. If you like the white, a lot of people like the clean crispness of a white background. And again, it all depends on just whatever you like. I think I'll put that flower in our little ephemera thing here too. Oh, and what about one little sticker? And of course, I guess we'll use the purple one. Medium purple or the dark purple? I like the medium purple. It's kind of a cross between this really dark purple and that pink. And where do I want to put it? I have a thing about putting them in the corners. I don't want it up there because we've got that up there. Maybe right there at the point of that inchy. Press that down up there too. And you could put more than one if you want to. But there we go. There's another one. And it really hasn't taken us that long. So, these are our cards for today. So we made these two. And here's a couple just for a little added inspiration. So I hope that helps you with making your inchies. I do apologize. I had everything written down. I do this all the time, so I'm always apologizing for it. But I really am sorry when I lose my paper and then I forget who it was that requested. But I hope that this answers your questions on what are they and how do you make them. There's no right or wrong way. Just have a really good time. And if you're going to join a group, just find out what their rules are. So thank you very much, everyone, for stopping by. For next week, we are going to pick up some all-purpose caulk from the Dollar Tree. This is washable caulk. And does it say clean up on it? It's latex, so it should be washable and paintable. And it does say that it's paintable. We're going to pick up some Mod Podge from the Dollar Tree. We are going to pick up some palette knives from the Dollar Tree. And we are going to pick up some white sand from the Dollar Tree. This is just decorative accents sand. So that's what we're going to pick up for next week. That is $5 out of our bank, so that will put $2.50. Or that's $5 out of what we're going to spend, and that puts $2.50 into our bank. So thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.